Today I'll be reviewing the 2022 Hyundai IONIQ 5. Now the IONIQ 5 is a pure EV vehicle created by Hyundai to compete with the likes of the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mach E. Very, very competitive segment right now. So did Hyundai succeed with this brand new IONIQ 5? Well, in this video I'll let you know. I'll tell you everything there is to know about this brand new car, and also go for a drive, of course, and let you know how it is on the road, and compare it to the market leaders like the Tesla Model Y, the Ford Mach E, and even the Kia EV6, so you can decide whether or not this is the EV vehicle to get. All right, let's get started. All right, I'm behind the wheel. Let's see how good this brand new IONIQ 5 is, and let me tell you more about it. Now, first of all, I have reviewed the sister car of this IONIQ 5, the Kia EV6. And if you haven't watched that yet, wait until the end of the video where I will link it. But that EV6 and this IONIQ 5 shares the same platform, same engine, and shares many of the same technologies. But Hyundai and Kia made sure to change a few things up so that each car can stand on their own, and there is a difference, and they're not virtually identical. Now, when it comes to the IONIQ 5, I think the biggest difference you can visually see right away is the exterior look. The IONIQ 5 does look very, very different. Almost futuristic slash cyberpunk slash SUV slash hatchback look. It's very hard to explain, but it is very different. There's something about it that looks analog, like the headlights and taillights, but also it does look like it belongs in the future. So Hyundai didn't make this look very different, but not in a bad way. Where the EV6, for example, looks more like just a futuristic, aggressive sport hatchback, this doesn't. And that brings me to my other point is the EV6 does look and feel more like a hatchback, while this IONIQ 5 looks and feels more like a SUV, just one that's pretty low to the ground. So when I'm driving around, I do feel like I'm still above most of the stands I see, but it's definitely lower than most of the SUVs I've driven. So you still have a little bit of commanding height, but it's a really easy entry and exit from this IONIQ 5. But once you get inside, it feels big. I mean, shoulder room up here, you know, hip room, leg room. Look at this headroom, right? There's plenty of it. It just feels big and airy inside. So it does make you feel like you're an SUV. It's just a little bit lower to the ground. Now in the back, I would say it's the same thing. I have plenty of leg room. I'm 5'10", so behind my driving position, you can see still have at least like 6 inches of leg room left. Headroom a little bit smaller, about 2 to 3 inches, but again, it does not feel tight at all. Now, I do remember in the EV6, it felt a little bit more cramped, and it could be just the overall design makes you feel more snug, but it does feel like it's a little bit smaller in there. And to compare to, say, the Mach E, well, this rear second row room is definitely much bigger than the Mach E. I remember the Mach E, I did not have much legroom at all, did not have much headroom, and I would bang my head when I was trying to get out. But compared to a Model Y, it's similar. Model Y does have more headroom, but legroom, I would say this one takes the cake, and this is the winner. And of course, if you look at cargo room, you got plenty of it too. If you open up the power tailgate, you'll see behind the second row, there's plenty of space. There's no hidden trunk underneath, at least not usable trunk. You have a little bit of space really just for your cables. So unlike a Model Y where there's a huge trunk underneath, you don't really get that, but you still have plenty of space in the back. And if you fold down the second row, you'll see that you have even more space, just as big as a compact or mid-size SUV. So again, great for families and plenty of room inside. Now, as for the drive, I had this IONIQ 5 for a couple days now, and I will tell you, I am very, very, very impressed with how this IONIQ drives. It is so comfortable and maneuverable and agile, but overall, it's just good. It is a great, great daily driver, and I think anyone that goes out and test drives this car will fall in love with it. Now, one of the big differences between this IONIQ 5 and the EV6 is the suspension tuning. The EV6 is tuned more firm, supposed to give the EV6 more of a sporty, sporty drive. And I did feel it sometimes. I did feel like the EV6 was a little bit harsher over rough patches. This IONIQ 5, on the other hand, is tuned smoother, and I love it. I love it. I love the way the suspension feels. It's very comfortable, even though this one comes with 20-inch wheels, very big wheels. I think the design is okay, but very big wheels with smaller sidewalls, going over anything, imperfections, rough patches, potholes. Here's the impressive thing. It's so comfortable, it's better than an EV vehicle that costs 3 times the amount. Something like a Model X or a Model S. This is more comfortable. That's how good the suspension is. I love the suspension. And combined with that is the steering, which I think it's great. I like the steering. It's not as precise as, say, the Model Y steering, but that's okay. It has a little give, a little forgiveness. In the Model Y, there's no forgiveness at all. It's like any little input in the steering wheel, you will feel in the car. This, it's similar, but just a little bit more give, and I think that's okay. And I overall like the steering feel. Around corners, not hard corners, just everyday driving, I think it's good. It makes this IONIQ 5 feel agile in a way, just very comfortable overall. And I never feel like this is a high-riding SUV where the body's rolling around. That's not the case at all. Because this EV, the batteries, of course, is on the bottom. So center of gravity is very low, which makes it great for carving corners. But I like the steering. Also, the steering wheel, futuristic looking. It's 2-spoke steering wheel, which is nice. But you got your usual buttons on both sides. You do have a drive mode button, so you can't go into Eco Sport or just leave it normal. Eco does take the fun out of this car. I'd say normal and sport is very similar. I don't notice much difference. But what's unique is the paddle shifters, right? Not that you go change your own gears in this, because there are no gears. But you could use the paddle shifters and change the level of regenerative braking, which Hyundai refers to as iPedal, which is genius, because if you are coming from a normal car, an ICE car, and you're not used to regenerative braking, the driving experience just, is not as good, and it takes time to get used to. And that is the reason why a lot of people, when they first get into EV car, they say, I don't like it, because they're just not used to the regenerative braking. So with this, you could slowly, gradually build up to it. So you could turn the whole system off, so the car does not have any regenerative braking, and it feels like a normal car. And you still have the normal creep, and you let off the accelerator, the car is still moving, right? And it just feels normal. But if you wanted to enable it, then you could use the paddle shifters and start upping the regenerative brake, and you could change the level from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, or max, which is even more aggressive than, I would say, a Model Y. I'm very familiar with the regenerative braking in a Model Y and a Model S. And if you have this turn on max mode, it is very, very aggressive. So I don't even enjoy that. But yeah, you could slowly ramp up, and it's a genius. It's really a genius move by Hyundai. Great use case for the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. Now, as for technology, this IONIQ 5 is fully loaded with pretty much everything, especially this limited one I'm driving. But there are things in here that you just can't find on a Tesla, which drives me crazy. First of all, heads-up display. Can't find it in any Teslas. And this heads-up display is utilizing augmented reality. So there's like a 3D layer to it. Everything has a layer to it, and it's just really cool. It's a gimmick, but it's a cool gimmick because all the other heads-up displays outside of the EV6 does not have it. Also, you get this 12-inch digital gauge cluster, and that's not really a special thing right now, other than the fact that you can't get one in a Model Y, which drives me crazy. But it tells you all the essential stuff, right? Your range, power, and you know, your trip computer and compass, your settings, stuff like that. Also, it does show your blind spot when you make a turn. It does come up in there, right? So there's just a few things in there. It just makes it really, really simple. Others, like the EV6 does have it, the Mach E does have it, and others, almost every manufacturer, every EV manufacturer does have some kind of digital gauge cluster, just with the, you know, with the bare essentials, right? Something that I wish Tesla had, but they don't. Well, I take that back. The X and the S does, but the 3 and the Y does not. Also, to complement it, you do get another 12-inch screen for your infotainment system. Now, this one in the IONIQ 5 is really good. I've tested it before. It's the same interface that you'll find in the other vehicles like the Palisade, but it's really nice. It's very, very quick, very responsive, very bright. Resolution is fantastic. So usual stuff, but a couple things missing: wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. For some reason, you have to hook it up still. But outside of those things, you get everything. Also, the camera system is fantastic. I like that 360 view. You know, it simulates your IONIQ 5 and you can spin all around. I think that's a nice touch. But outside of that, you get views from all around your car, so that's good. And if you didn't like using touch, well, Hyundai still had plenty of buttons underneath with a volume knob that's very easily accessed. With the EV6, there was a volume knob that was hidden, couldn't find it. With here, you do. And also another big difference in this IONIQ 5 versus the EV6 is the lack of center console. So the Kia EV6 does have a more of a traditional console, makes you feel, again, more like a normal car. This one is more futuristic. So they remove the center console. You have plenty of space underneath. So you have plugs, right? And just space for your things, like your bag or whatever you want to put in here, right? So lack of center console does make this feel different and more futuristic. Also, what's cool is you do get a giant sunroof or moonroof or whatever you call it. It's a giant piece of glass, but it can't open. But there is a cover that opens up and closes midway. And I haven't seen that with any other car. So again, it's a gimmick, but it's a cool gimmick where it opens from the middle, and something, you know, Tesla does not have. I did mention about the drive already, but other things that make this IONIQ 5 really, really nice. It's very quiet, extremely quiet in here. Of course, there's no engine exhaust noise, but overall, well insulated from the outside, so that's very good. And the seats, fantastic, fantastic. Beautiful looking seats, and this one is all white. I love white seats for some reason, but it's very comfortable. Up front, you could adjust it 100 different ways. And Hyundai did say that they made it so that if you lay it back, it's in a very comfortable position, so you can take a nap. Not that, you know, I normally do that, but you could do it. You could do it inside, but you know, overall, the seats up front and in the rear, all very, very comfortable. So it adds to the comfortable drive. I'm really, really, really liking how this IONIQ 5 drives. Now, another thing I want to mention that Hyundai fixed are the handles. With the Model Y, I've always said the handle just doesn't make sense. You have to manually push in, then pull. People that are first trying to get in do not know how to work it, and it should be, you know, automatic or self-presenting, which in this car is. As soon as you get close to it, it will sense your key fob and the handles pop out and present themselves. It's that simple. It's a non-issue for almost every single car out there other than Tesla's. They wanted to reinvent the door handles, and it just makes it so confusing, but not with this IONIQ 5, so I'm glad it's a very easy thing, and again, a non-issue. Also, there's cool LED lights in here, so behind the grab handles and around the speaker surrounds, right? You know, little stuff like that. Again, it's a gimmick, but you usually find LED lights within high-end luxury cars. So it's a nice touch, especially at night. So that's also pretty cool. At this point, you may be wondering, well, what about power and range and charging and all that good stuff? Well, let me tell you a little bit more about it. Now, this one does come with all-wheel drive, which means you get the extended battery pack and you get more power. So overall, you're getting about 320 horsepower and about 446 pound-feet of torque. And keep in mind, most of that torque comes in at 0. So instant torque. So it's plenty of power. And this one comes in, 0 to 60 comes in around 4.5 seconds, which is a tad faster than the EV6. However, with this performance, there's a trade-off. The range is around 250s, 250 to 260. So it's not as good as, say, a Model Y. Model Y is around 320, 330, so there's a big gap there. But the one thing that I can't wrap my head around is the difference between this one, the limited long-range all-wheel drive, which is the same powertrain that you'll find in the Kia EV6 GT line all-wheel drive. Okay, it's the same powertrain, same output, same everything, but that EV6 gets about 20 more miles of range. So that one comes in around 276 miles. This one is like 250 something. So I don't know where the 20 miles went. Why is this IONIQ 5 getting less range per charge than its sister platform? It doesn't make any sense. So almost all the vehicles have level 3 charging, which is extremely quick charging. But this one can charge faster than the Mach E and even faster than the Model Y. So you could get about 80% of your charge within about 18 minutes, okay? And there are certain chargers that will allow you to charge at maximum speed, and it does allow you to charge faster than a Mach E and a Model Y. So Hyundai tries to make up for the difference in range with charging time. But again, you got to find certain stations that support the max level 3 charging. Most stations out there have not been upgraded to it yet, but in the future, they probably will be. As for pricing, there are 7 different trim levels to this brand new IONIQ 5, but only one has the standard range. 6 of them has long range, but the base SC standard range, that comes in around $41,000. And if you take into account the $7,500 federal tax credit, well, then that pushes it down way low into the low 30s. After the SE standard range, then you have the SE long range all-wheel drive, then the SEL long range, SEL long range all-wheel drive, and finally the limited long range and limited long range all-wheel drive. This one is the range topping limited long range all-wheel drive, and it comes in right under $56,000. But again, subtracting off that $7,500 federal tax credit, this will put this IONIQ 5 in the high 40s, which would make it very competitive with others in this space and just general SUVs overall. So it really depends on whether or not you need all-wheel drive and what kind of features you want. So to conclude, I'm a big fan of this IONIQ 5. I think Hyundai nailed it. The exterior look is unlike anything out there. It's like a SUV slash hatchback look, but very futuristic, and I like it. I like the way this looks. The inside is plenty big. There's plenty of technology. You know, I've already shared my thoughts on those things. And as for the drive, I'll put this right at the top. It's either at the top or the top 2, because I can't think of another EV car that I've driven recently that felt more comfortable than this one. It is really comfortable. The brake, the steering, the acceleration all feel fantastic. It's quiet, the seats are comfortable, you have great visibility all around, and it's just a great vehicle. Thanks for watching. Smash it a like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for my future videos. All right, take care. Bye-bye.